I get asked this question all the time, so I'm just gonna. I get asked this question all the time, so I'm just gonna keep it real, but I'm gonna continue to stay with a positive page. And I'm not, what I'm saying, down on anybody or doing none of that. So nothing that I'm doing and saying is wrong. What your man think, to be perfectly honest, to keep it real, like I've always been doing, my ex left me for a heavy-set Caucasian woman. And instead of leaving with dignity, just leaving to say face that if he sees me at any time, we can say hi to each other, we can speak to each other or whatever, and have a normal conversation like civilized people do. But we can't do that because he made me feel so low with wanting to be me and who I am, because he wanted something else, a different preference of color, a different preference of size. He literally made me feel like I'm not beautiful. So I'm glad he's out of my life, and I'm happy. I smile every time I get up. I'm like, I'm alive. And I wish him all the best, and I'm going to continue to try to do the best I can for me and my family.
Here's a reason why men will always follow Andrew Tate. I shared a story of growth in my relationship, and more than 30% of women attacked me without knowing all the details. As a South Asian, toxic masculinity is very prevalent in our culture. I wish it could be fixed overnight, but it can't. Because personal growth comes in cycles of getting hurt, ego battles, hurting the ones you love, accountability, and finally change. For those who made personal attacks, if someone holds themselves accountable for the shitty things they've done and they change as a person, why use their past as a weapon against them? That doesn't encourage anyone to take accountability. And this is exactly why people like Andrew Tate are able to convince misguided men to stay toxic, because their vulnerabilities are going to be used against them, like in my case. Every adult has toxic traits from past trauma. The sad thing is that not everyone will change, because it takes a lot of strength to be accountable, knowing that it'll be used against you. I don't gain anything from making myself look like the bad guy. In fact, it probably hurts our brand image. I made the video because I constantly see Andrew Tate being praised for being a real man. So for the Tate fans, as someone who's been there and done that, I hope you can respect my message. It's easy to be toxic. The true strength of a person comes from accountability and compassion.
Don't make men safe by making them weak. They're much more dangerous when they're weak because they'll stab you in the back when they get the chance. You make men safe by making them strong, and then by making sure that they're disciplined. It's like having a very powerful dog. You better discipline it, because otherwise it's going to be a monster.
It is so weird how some women use marriage to shame other women, as if being married is the ultimate accomplishment. Believe it or not, but getting married is actually very easy. What's hard is marrying someone who is actually worth marrying. So to all the married women who love spending their days shaming single women, what you need to realize is those single women you're shaming wouldn't have dated your husband if they were paid to. And you could argue that, oh, my husband is such a catch. That's cap. If he was such a catch and you were so happy in your marriage, you'd be spending your days loving on your husband, not being worried about what single women are doing. Happy married people are so busy minding their business because they're living their best lives. The people who spout the most BS are the miserable married people. They gossip as a form of escapism. Long story short,
And this goes the same way for single people who can't stop posting about how terrible having kids are, how terrible marriage is, how being alone is the best thing that's ever happened to them, and they're coping hard as they collect dogs and cats. It's absolutely no different.
Being married or being married is not the achievement. The achievement is having a healthy, long-lasting, happy marriage. And if you really had one of those, you wouldn't be such a pressed panini, negative Nancy, would ya?
No matter how good of a man you are, you will never be good enough for an immature woman. Some women cannot appreciate good men, and it's not your job to love them until they do.
Modern women syndrome.
Yes, New York streets.
Mm-hmm. Where do you work?
He worked at the mall.
So, and you were leaving your apartment?
Yeah, I just thought we would be better as friends while we both.
Okay, so I want you guys to understand something. What did I say? That in neither of the two scenarios did she mention a man, and she barked at me. I want you guys to remember that. And like I said Monday night, I asked the question, what does a successful life look like for a woman like yourself? And she started talking about the feelings thing. The relationship, I said, you need to start asking women how their relationships end. And I want you guys to understand, this one was in a 5-year relationship, and she ended it in a cold, callous way. The man was on.
Sorry. Okay.
You think it's appropriate for a 5-year relationship to be driving somebody to French toast ass work, and they got to have that on their mind while they're at work? See, I told you modern women are cowards. They don't deal with conflict, and when they're done with you, they get rid of you. That's what I said today. Know when to run, know when to walk, and when to run. That video is on this channel and on YouTube. I don't just talk. And then I said, well, tell me the details. Oh, that was 2 years ago. I guarantee you he remembers what the hell you did to him. Bet you that. Bet you that. And I'm going to tell you something. Any man who's worth his salt that will look for a wife is going to ask you these questions too.
Okay, and I can be able to tell them the full story about it. But
no, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. Because soon as, well, you think you can. Why would they sit here and listen to this shit? 5-year relationship for a 28-year-old woman, and you just on the way to work. I told them, dude, 10 minutes outside of work, this just ain't gonna work. Peace out.
I didn't do it like that though.
Oh, okay.
You're making me sound like I did it. Like,
ma'am, I asked you how you did it. Ma'am, I asked you how you did it.
I can't.
You said it was 2 years ago. I want you guys to understand that this is how serious this is how little they care. I have selective memory. This is the man she spent 5 years with. Y'all had sex, right?
Yeah.
Right. So he was all up inside your body. But when you were leaving him, you didn't even give him the dignity of say, thank you for spending 5 years with me. You didn't sit him. He's probably a sucker.
No,
because he was in your car. Let me tell you something. Okay. Any man that would let you drive him to work and he's going to the mall, where were you working at?
I was a flight attendant.
Mm-hmm.
And flight attendants get around, and she's surrounded by pilots who are way more high value than the man she has to drop off to work, and eventually got tired of that stuff and dropped him off to work and told him, you ain't good enough. All the strong boss babes who's her co-workers in flight attendant, wherever she's going, international cities, access to all sorts of chads, probably had a second phone. It ain't hard to do when you're traveling from city to city. Everywhere you have access to so many different men. You think that guy that gets a ride to work in wherever at the mall had any shot whatsoever?